We are live. Hey,
Oh,
welcome back to this live interview, everybody. Today, I have a very special guest, my client, Anthony, who's lost over 30 pounds in less than 90 days. So, Anthony, thank you for being here, my man. Really appreciate you coming on, taking some time out of the day.
of course. Yeah, thank you for having me, Irslan. Thank you, especially for your flexibility. Especially as a student, I'm just running around. I'm reminded of your post, like a chicken without a head. It's what I would tell you.
I got that straight from you. That line
Yeah.
came straight from your mouth. Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody about a little bit about who you are, what your name is, where you're from, and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what a loaded question. So hey everyone, my name's Anthony Fortuna. A little bit about my background. So actually, fun fact, Ursula and I were in the same class in high school. Both went to Severian High School, so that's sort of our connection there. Always got to represent the X. So that's a little bit about my background. But after that, went to college at John Jay College. But then I'm pursuing my doctorate degree in psychology. And essentially, long story short, I could go off on many reasons why I could want to be a psychologist, but essentially, it's to help other people. So that's a little bit about my background, sort of aspiring psychologist, helping other people through therapy, and also like the few like assessment experiences that I have, very limited. Um, but yeah, I really came to you because, during the pandemic, I've gained, a significant amount of weight. And honestly, just to give you guys a perspective in terms of my experience. So I mentioned I went to Severian High School with Irslan, so that's 4 years. College, another 4 years. And I'm a fourth year doctoral student. That's another 4 years. And I'm not good at math, right? I know I'm a doctoral student, but I can, yes, you can tell that's a long time. So I felt like over time, I've always had, I think as Ursula alluded to, I've always gone to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Fun fact, I'm actually a purple belt, but ever since the pandemic happened and so the gyms closed, I didn't have any recourse to exercise. And I think that's where sort of I gained that weight, and really looking towards Urslan because I saw all the wonderful videos that you created, and just, seeing all the wonderful results that you've done with clients. And just knowing you before, I knew I could trust you. So, I just took the plunge and went on from there.
Yeah, well, I'm happy that you did, and you're reaping the reward now. So why don't you tell everybody what you achieved during the time that we worked together so far? What results have you gotten?
Yeah. So beginning the program, I know, you posted your before and after picture. I was 187 pounds and out, was creeping up there to 200 pounds. Um, so essentially what I achieved, lost over 30 pounds, but I think I've achieved much more than that, much more than like the number going away. Sort of my mind, my frame of, my lifestyle in terms of how I look at food and sort of, how I go about myself has completely changed. Sort of living a more of a healthy lifestyle versus how I was before. Just, I told you on countless occasions, Urslan, you see Panera every day, literally every day. Chipotle, Starbucks. The Starbucks hasn't changed, but we'll get to that often another time. But yeah, I think it's just a complete 180.
Right. Yeah. And where were you at? Like you said, there was much more of a change just than physical. So where were you mentally, physically, emotionally before you began the program?
Yeah. So, just I think oftentimes as graduate students, we're like in a bubble, like for example, like 4 years as a graduate student, like I didn't have any time to hang out with, my friends. And a lot of that it's because you're, stuck in the textbooks and you're sort of, you know, a lot of what it means to be a doctoral student, like one of my professors said, it's like another job. So personally, I was very burnt out by the time I got to you. Emotionally, physically, I think I told you so. I see veterans as part of my externship, and I could barely get up in the morning. Like I think, as you alluded to, like I could barely stay awake. My energy levels were drained. So coming into this, I was fried out um, a bit, and that sort of those energy levels were really low. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you did mention that quite a bit. And
Yeah.
what did you try, like, because the pandemic hit back in March, right? So
Yeah.
as your weight began creeping up, what did you try that may have not worked? And like what was that frustration?
Yeah. So, you know, a bunch of things. And, I mentioned like I've trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but like looking back at it, Urslan, and you know, I'm looking forward to go back, especially once, I think I'm so lucky. I qualified for the vaccine. So hopefully when things open up and sort of that goes okay. I only went once a week. I just wanted to just really say how this program has deeply changed my viewpoint of fitness and what it means to sacrifice and just invest in yourself. I think you mentioned this post. I didn't, for example, you know, I would often spend money on like, anyone who knows me, anyone who's like tuning in would know that I'm a big movie collector. I spend an exorbitant amount of money on, Blu-rays, video games, fast food, but I never invested it in myself. So I know I went off on a tangent, but I'm just realizing that I didn't put so much focus into my own health, and just sort of this has sort of changed my whole perspective on things. I don't know if I answered the question. I just went off on a tangent.
No, I mean, you have a very impressive Blu-ray collection, without a doubt. Probably
Yeah.
the most impressive I've ever seen. Really, the question was, what
Yeah.
have you tried to lose weight in the
Oh, right.
past that didn't work?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. So oh gosh, where did I okay. So what I try
Okay.
I know, wait, where did I go off? So what I tried, especially in the pandemic, what I tried to do is like I walked, put my headphones on. I love doing that. I ran. So like actually, I think when we I don't know, when we connected, I used to try to run 1.5 miles per day. If that, like I run 1.5 miles, maybe like a Monday, and then Tuesday I take off, Wednesday. So I would run again. So it was you know, I really kept trying stuff. It didn't stick. Like I tried the running, I tried the walking. I think I tried like push-ups, like a program, maybe like a weight sort of centered program. Those didn't stick. Like I'm looking back on it, I was like more like a dog that didn't have like a sense of direction. Like I didn't know what. I tried the running, that didn't work. I tried maybe the push-ups and like weights for like a second. I tried the food, like for example, like I would say to myself, okay, I'm gonna eat a big lunch and then not eat the rest of the day. That didn't work. So by the time I got to you, I tried these other methods and they didn't work out. I tried running, I tried to switch my diet, but I didn't have a sense of direction or guidance or anyone. I guess I know I have support. Ursula, my mom's a big role in my life, but didn't have the guidance or sort of expertise to sort of really guide me. Like, do this, don't do that.
Right. So it sounded like you really lacked that structure, but like beyond that, the like guidance and accountability also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, what was that frustration? Like, if like it sounded like you felt stuck. Like, how did that feel? Just like not being able to, make that progress. You had all these false starts, stopping and starting, stopping and starting.
Yeah. Um, geez, I think it made me feel bad about myself. I guess like, starting and stopping, it almost feels like, wow, can I do this? And also to an extent, like, I guess I'm just trying to think back to the way I was. I guess I didn't like recognize how much of a bad place I really was. Like, for example, I will look at myself in the mirror and I'll be like, yeah, you're fine. It's great. You know? Um, yeah, I think I couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept that I was letting myself go. But more importantly, letting my health go on the wayside. Like I had family members who said, like, Anthony, you put on a little weight, and I would ignore it. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, you weigh like 250 pounds. What are you saying?
Right. It reminds me of that boiling frog analogy where if you put a frog in a boiling pot of water, it'll jump right out.
Yeah.
But if you put a frog in a cool bath of water and slowly turn up the heat, the frog will boil to death. And I feel like that's what happens to most of us. We don't realize that we're slowly like building up in the wrong direction up until like, something catastrophic happens or somebody points it out and we really like wake up and like, whoa, like you recognize it. So it sounds like you got to that point. And what was your like biggest struggle in like trying to like lose this weight? Like, would you say?
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle, I think, just trying to think, I think I mentioned to you, I think it was just starting, I felt like, when we reconnected, took the plunge, but I had so many anxieties underneath. I was like, can this be done? For example, I know my goal was to lose 30 pounds, but I was like, oh, what if I fail? Like, am I going to do this? Like, so it's like that doubt, that inner doubt that's sort of creeping in your head, in your mind. Like, is this doable? And then of course, like getting adjusted, like anything, getting adjusted to a new lifestyle, and also like finding a way that I can enjoy all my foods and enjoy a diet that I could enjoy while making it sustainable. I think that was my goal. I think a lot of times when we met, my concern was like, okay, I'm gonna lose all this weight, but I want to keep it that way. I don't want to like yo-yo, as you say. So that was like the biggest struggle, keeping it sustainable, avoiding those cravings. And I was so glad, I'm so happy you were there to say, don't drink that, stop doing this. So I needed it. I have a sweet tooth, but those are my barriers.
Yeah. And what it sounded like you did have those like anxieties, and like, what was the thing that kind of caused you to push past that barrier, that inner doubt?
Yeah. And I think you've spoken, you definitely have about this in other videos. I think because I took this plunge with you and you were there, like, and we checked in like every week. So I was like, okay, I got to do this because I'm going to meet with Irslan. Like, he can't see that I'm eating like chocolate bars and Snickers, which I want to. Yeah, it's so crazy. I used to go like I was in a bad place. I used to go to the drive-thru, eat my chicken nuggets, but that's a side note. But yeah, you were there as that source of accountability. I knew that I had to do my best because, wanted to become accountable to you, not like, not disappointing you. I know there are people who've backed me up, like my mom who took the plunge with me and sort of helped me with like dietary sort of, the restrictions and stuff like that. But also I think, like you said, so the larger point is I had skin in the game. Like when I was like, running maybe a day or so, or maybe doing those push-ups, like I didn't have skin in the game. Like this was the first time that I actually like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to stick with this. I don't know where I'm going to be at, but I'm going to stick this through.
I love that. I love that mindset. Yeah. And like, it's what I wrote about, like on your post, your before and after. It's like that attitude of like, all right, let's do this. Like, and I'll figure it out along the way. And that I don't have to have all the pieces in play and like everything perfect. Like I'll figure it out along the way. Like that's one of the main like characteristic traits that I saw in you. I'm like, oh, he's going to do really well in this program, which you did. So what was your favorite part about working with me?
Oh man, so many parts, Irslan. It's a hard question. I think
I love my questions.
I know. I think my favorite part, obviously reconnecting with you, that's such a joy and such a blessing in my life. So yeah, I'm a great person.
My head just expanded.
No. Yeah, that was one of the many joys, checking in with you. And also, I think the most enjoyable aspect of working with you is sort of your kindness, sort of your patience, and just acceptance of where someone's at. Like I'll give you guys an example. Sort of, I love my Starbucks. I love my strawberry acai. I know it's, I love it. I was like, Irslan, I can't let it go. But, you just met me where I'm at. And you said, hey, all right, Anthony, we'll work with that. Sort of maybe try to eliminate some of the other things. So just really how personable you are, how accepting you are, how kind you are. And also just how approachable you are, and also how educational this experience was. I think one of the things that you told me that really stuck with me, it's like, this is like taking a course. And as a college student, as a graduate student, that really resonated with me. I was like, okay, I'm invested in something. I'm taking this, college course, and like this credit course and like switching my lifestyle, learning about nutrition. So for me, I was all in. So those are the most enjoyable aspect, working with you as a person and sort of the learning sort of environment that you created.
I love that. And, one thing I love that you would always say is like, Irslan, how can I get the most out of this program? Like, I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of this program. And I was like, I love that mentality, just like wanting to squeeze the most out of the investment that you did make, which you did. And, why did you feel like in that moment that you needed to have a coach like in your corner working with you?
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that because as a therapist, and I think I love how you speak about how, your mental health is directly correlated with your fitness, right? There is a mind-body connection. I'm thinking about, there's a dear friend of mine in my program, Irslan, that's like studying the impact of self-care and self-compassion, just thinking about you through this whole thing. But as a psychologist, and I think you mentioned this too, so I've had many patients where, and this doesn't have to necessarily correlate with fitness, but I've had patients where, maybe I'd give them, in therapy, you don't necessarily give advice, but essentially I would help them lead a more meaningful life. So for example, if I told a patient it'd be beneficial to exercise, and then I wasn't doing that, what kind of therapist am I thought of. So a lot of this was a humbling experience for me. And I think wanted to take this moment for everyone to, I know there's, sometimes there might be a stigma with mental health and, seeking therapy, and just knowing, I think this was a great opportunity to use this platform to sort of your viewers, Irslan, that, it's okay seeking a therapist, it's okay to ask for help. So Irslan, this was another way for me to humble myself and to ask for help, when you need it, because I didn't accept it for the longest time. I kept gaining the weight and my mom noticed, I realized I needed help to do this, and that looking for help it's okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That touched me actually. It really did.
Oh.
It's I don't know why that like touched me so hard right now. But anyways, yeah. So I love that because I'm getting like literally teary-eyed. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
But it touched me because like, there are so many coaches and trainers that refuse to hire coaches and trainers. And I'm a big believer in like, how can you, try to have someone do something you're not willing to do yourself? So it's like that exact thing. But there was this, beyond that, there was this external transformation that you experienced, and you kind of touched on it earlier, but what was that internal transformation, if you had one? Could you talk a little bit on that as well?
Absolutely. So, before working with you, I was going through some personal things, as you know. And it was just how do I say it? What's the word? It was a critical juncture for me. Like, not only, addressing things personally, such as, being assertive and being, committed towards things and working myself. I feel like this program was a mirror of that, a reflection, just like working on myself and investing into my own health. So not only did I go through a physical transformation, Irslan, I felt like my confidence went up tremendously in terms of how I look, but also an internal transformation of knowing that I can set my mind towards something, a goal, and then knowing that I can humble myself and, switch the tables, as you would, you could say, because oftentimes as a therapist, I'm in a seat of authority, right? That's like that can be a hard process sometimes for people, being on the other side of things, being vulnerable. So there was a lot of internal transformation for me, Irslan, both physically and internally as well.
I love that. And I'm honestly like, I'm so thankful that like you're probably one of the most coachable people that I've ever worked with. Literally every time I have a coachable client, I'm like, yes, like coachable, meaning that like you're following through on what I'm saying, and you're like putting your trust in me, kind of like how, like a blind man needs to put his trust in a dog, because like, that dog has to tell the blind man the truth, right? Like it may hurt a little bit if they, that dog tells the blind man the truth at first, like that little suck factor, but it's for the blind man's safety at the end of the day. It's for the greater benefit of it,
Yeah.
of him. Right. So in the same way, like as a coach, I'm very transparent. So like, I will tell you like, hey, like get going here, but like, hey, you're doing a great job here,
Right.
but because it's genuine, when I give you that feedback, that
Mm.
positive feedback, it's real. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really thankful that you are super coachable, and like
Oh,
you really took the feedback as if I was talking for your greater benefit as opposed to you as a Does that make sense?
yeah.
I almost separated you from the equation. It's like I'm talking for like the future Anthony, does that make sense? As opposed
Yeah.
to you, Anthony.
Yeah. Of
A
course.
lot of people aren't able to do that properly. Like just separate themselves from the feedback.
Mm.
It's like it's not
Yeah.
you. It's just like that, greater version of you kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank that. Jeez, I'm gonna maybe get emotional too. Thank you for that, Irslan. That means a lot. And like, yeah, I must like in terms of just speaking about the internal transformation you mentioned, like, like for example, like there's a funny story where Irslan led me through a cold shower.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, the short end of it, I like froze my ass off. And like,
You got to tell them what happened after you froze your ass off. That
yeah.
was the process. You got to tell them about the promise.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, trusted Irslan to took a cold shower. Sort of that was sort of anybody who's been watching Irslan's, content frequently. That's a major way that you preach to reset yourself. And like a greater sort of theme or level is to take that risk, right? Like, I think you often mention that, um, it will never be a good time. You just have to do it. So Irslan, walked me through a cold shower, scathing, bliss. It was a blizzard of a cold shower, and I was just yelling. I was like, I turned to a wuss right there, and I was like, ah! But after that, I just really felt all the exhilaration, and I felt the focus. I just really felt like it jolted me back. I remember before talking to Irslan, before that shower, I was feeling tired, and I felt like maybe my focus wasn't there. And that cold shower did everything for me. And I feel like that's another example of trusting the process and like trusting you, leaving like my own like ego at the door and saying, okay, this cold shower might seem like a crazy idea. Like, what the hell are we doing? But I'm going to trust you. We're just going to go with it. We're just going to do it.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah.
I love doing that. I've led a few clients through cold showers.
Mhm.
If they want to, I don't like,
Yeah.
it's not like mandatory or anything like that, but yeah, that was awesome. And so like my last question then is, you went through this program, you've got your great, great results here. Literally from last week to this week, you're 2.4 pounds away from your ultimate weight loss goal, which is awesome. So what would you say to anyone who is maybe on the fence about possibly investing into a program, even possibly working with them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say this is my favorite word, Irslan, if anybody knows me, unequivocally, right? Undoubtedly. I always
Oh my God.
back from Sumerian, but it would be unequivocally. But undoubtedly, unequivocally, I would recommend people specific to you because of your genuine approach, accepting approach, and you're also firm when you need to be as well. But I would also say my biggest advice would be, that lesson I learned that you should invest in yourself, that this is something worthwhile. I think we all get caught up with like, for example, I have to pay I have to pay the car. For me, I have have other bills, or maybe I have to buy a textbook. We all see how maybe, okay, these things are important, but we don't recognize how important our health is. And I think this is such a worthy investment, not only for your physical health, but for your mindset as well. Being more confident in yourself, knowing that you can set your mind something and do something. Reset yourself, because I feel like, accomplishing this fitness goal leads to so many other things. So I would say 100% worth it. And you have my sort of all of my stamp of approval, Irslan. I'm thinking as a therapist, one undoubtedly refer all my, anyone who's dealing with a fitness related thing, especially I'm thinking about what's on the other side for me in terms of graduating, private practice, all that, just my full stamp of approval.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anthony. That means a lot to me, my man.
Of course.
Well, I appreciate you so much again for taking this time here. I hope you, if you tuned in live or if you're catching this at a later time and you're catching the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found this valuable and insightful. And as always, we will see you in our next video. Thank you again, Anthony. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
Yep, you as well.